Marvin Gaye or Otis Redding?
Marvin Gaye.
James Brown or Aretha Franklin?
James Brown.
Wow.
Hands down.
Etta James or Stevie Wonder?
Etta James.
I love you're not even, you know this. Sam Cooke or Ray Charles?
Sam Cooke.
Adele or Mariah Carey?
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey. Madonna or Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson.
John Legend or Usher?
John Legend.
Ah, beautiful. Oh man, wow. I mean, there is no right answer, but
That's right.
I agree with you in all of this. All right, I got one more for you. Since you're a man, you're a world traveler. I'm gonna say 2 cities,
Okay.
and you pick the one that fits best with you. Paris or Rome?
Paris.
Barcelona or Amsterdam?
Barcelona. Barcelona.
Okay. Barcelona. Athens. I like that. Athens or Vienna?
Wien.
Santorini or Tuscany?
Oh, Santorini. Oh, Santorini.
Beautiful.
Santorini.
Porto or London?
Oh, I love Portugal. London. That was difficult.
I was going to say that one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
So
London. I'm going London. Okay.
those will be the hardest questions in this whole in this whole conversation. Okay, so I'm dying to find out. I wanna take everyone back in time.
Correct.
I want to find out, how did your parents meet, and what was the heritage of your parents?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think my parents met by a sort of an induced coincidence. My father's mother and my mother's mother were friendly. They were West Indian women. Both of them, with Jamaican roots, but one with Jewish roots, and the other with sort of just a humanistic Quaker approach.
So where in West Indies?
Well, I was made in Jamaica.
Got it.
I was born in Boston.
Got it. Okay.
So their beginnings, started in Jamaica, as it were, but in a very small area. I'd like to say that my father, in his male culture, and along with his brothers, found it very acceptable, if not preferable, to try to be with as many women as they could be with at a certain age.
Got you.
But ironically, or understandably enough, when it came time to get married, they wanted to marry some pure girl who had never been, shall we say, a part of anyone's traffic. So they found these women, either by virtue of yentas or by virtue of family, almost by accident. But they would go and look for them in places, simple places where there was a sort of natural aristocracy. Money was not the makeup of these people's majesty, but they had spiritual substance. So this was the environment that my mother was really in. So when my father saw my mother for the first time, he did not have to worry about her background. He was absolutely consumed by her looks and the fact that his mother had given it a silent thumbs up, had given it an assent, and my mother's mother had given it a thumbs up. So as they begin to meet, it appears to be innocent to my mother because she is innocent. But marriage is more, what they often say is that talking is about more than words. And I think that could also apply to marriage. Marriage is about more than words. And
Rashid, I could have used you in the wedding. I got married. I got married, and I'm tearing up from the way you described marriage. I'm like, where I should have.
Well, I would have been.
earlier with
I
the
might
get
have embarrassed
inspiration.
you with a toast. I might have embarrassed you with a toast that comes from this. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
is one of the reasons why, and all this. And since we're getting deep, let me get
Yeah,
let
please.
me
Oh,
honor
please.
your question by a very indelicate response.
Sure.
I think that these two people were so in love with one another that they combined to make one selfish person. So that when I was born, I upset the apple cart.
Mm.
They were in love with one another. Neither one of them were prepared, they may not have known this, for a third person, someone that they had created, but that someone they would now have to focus their love on as a primary object of their concern and responsibility. They were much more focused on one another.
And,
So,
and taking from that, because you were born in Boston,
yes,
so
made
what?
in Jamaica, made right,
what
right.
what happened? Why Boston? Why did they move there?
Okay, but after prior to the end of World War II,
Hmm.
what many educated Jamaicans or people in the colonies, the British colonies in the Caribbean and elsewhere did, was at a certain time, if they had the money and the circumstance and the inclination, they would go to the mother country to be educated, as part of their majesty. They may return to the colony, but they would have that cachet as having been, sort of marinated in the mother country. But after World War II, England was on its knees. It was laid low. So what happened was that both families decided to go to New England. You can't make it up. This is how concrete that was. Well, if we can't go
So
to England,
England.
where else can we find the congruence of culture? Oh, New England. And what
Wow.
is the epicenter of New England? Well, Boston. So
Yep.
you can't even make that up.
Did your father and his brothers all come along, or was it?
Well, yes, and in peace they did, but some of the some of the family went to Haiti, which was then a very lush and prosperous place, very French. Very prosperous. Actually, I have a second cousin who is a famous, when you do your research,
I did. I was just
Albert,
about to ask you.
Albert Silvera, Playboy, the most famous Lamborghini in the world is the Silvera Lamborghini.
That's
So,
right.
so there were those folks who went in that direction, and then others to Cuba. There were some, who went on to Havana, which was then, once again, very ooh la la, something special, something very romantic.
Right.
But the ones who came to Boston came to the sort of seriousness and the crispness and the racism and the and the immature reaction and the xenophobia. Even the best of the Bostonians, of the Brahmins, had treated the Irish as though they were less than them, as would the Irish treat the Italians, as would, each
Yep.
one having been put upon would diminish, would attempt to diminish the next wave of immigration.
Who are you closest with? Was it your mother?
Well, it was my mother's two sisters.
Hmm.
Okay, if I can just branch that story off, as I told you, my mother and my father,
Right.
neither were prepared.
With
So it turned out, through this move and that move, my mother's grandparents, and her two sisters were the most seminal forces in my life. Her younger sister, who is 93 now, still alive,
wow.
was an artist and just a romantic who raised me on Robert Louis Stevenson and J.M. Barrie and all the stories of Beatrix Potter. All of these beautiful stories immense. And then her older sister was a serious businesswoman. So it gave me a sense of responsibility, hard work. And her older sister,
That's a beautiful mix.
oh yeah, is
Romanticize,
oh yeah,
but
it's 96. Yeah,
wow.
right. And all of this in a very organic sense. None of it seemed to be forced. Matter of fact, it wasn't. And I got it through the dermis, through the epidermis. They more modeled what they had to share with me than molded what they had, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
Modeled
did
rather
you?
than molded it. I felt in some way that their reward for living, their rewards for living their lives the way that their parents had suggested gave them this longevity. They were as older than most because they had lived their lives with more truth than most. Even my mother, in her inability to be a mother, was reacting to hurt and disappointment in a relationship that had nothing to do with me, even though I had everything to do with the relationship. You know, I mean, I was a
Yep,
byproduct
of course.
So even my mother's inability to be a mother didn't necessarily make her a bad person. It made her a person who didn't have a good reaction to a bad situation.
I'm guessing was there anger? Did you grow up?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay.
I think part of that anger worked itself out, not inside of my home, but definitely outside. I found, and this is really interesting because I had a lot of older friends when I was younger who were wonderful role models, Aaron Lopez and the like. These folks were they were 5 or 6 years older, but they treated me like a younger brother. All the while, I think I had so many positive influences, it tended to mitigate the anger that was definitely just beneath the surface.
At this stage, when you're studying anthropology, you've come back from these crazy adventures that you've been through. Did you still feel that there was something you needed to do? Did you have a clear idea of where you wanted to go?
Yes.
Where was that?
So
Where did
I come back, and that's a great question. Let me tell you how clear it was. I knew at that time I needed to go to a school where they continued to study world philosophies and phenomenologies, mythologies, just the myths and rituals that people use to consider themselves human. And I realized, my God, that wasn't at law school, that wasn't at business school. Where it was a divinity school. So I found out the 2 divinity schools that were really non-denominational, and we're saying that one was Yale and one was Harvard.
You said, I'm ready, this is great. You change your name. You end up for the next 10, 15 years after you study, you end up teaching, academic. You end up wanting to teach others. And I'm hearing your story now in your upbringing and all the things that you went through.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. It's
right.
You decided to dedicate your life to help others and to educate others and to bring some form of inspiration in the way that they begin forming their own paths in life. And that's incredible. So you did that for a number of years. I mean, obviously you went through a number of different top-notch educational institutions. And then it was not till probably 15 years later, I'm talking about like now in the 80s.
The modeling thing. The modeling thing.
Yeah. So hold on. So I want to hear this story. At this stage, you're teaching now at Scarsdale High School. Right?
Yes, I am.
Along with all the, very prominent, top-notch, very difficult to get into as an educator. You're now at one of the top-notch educational institutions, teaching there. That's what you're doing day in, day out. You're coming, you're meeting all these students.
Right.
And then one night you're at a friend's house. And tell me how this thing.
Okay, so first of all, I have this friend. His name is Eddie Bianchi. Eddie Bianchi he did Deadwood and The Wire. I don't know these. He's an incredible director, and he's my big brother. Okay, And actually, when he had his first child after divorce, I was pretty much raising Adam, but I mean, anyway, so we're very, very close. I'm out at his beach house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a little private compound on this island, water island. I'm out there with this girlfriend, this Italian girl, whatever, adorable. But neither one of us have a stitch of clothing on. And we're playing, we're playing this game, Kadima. It's like a volleyball, but with a paddle. It's like, ping pong, but it's like with a volleyball.
Yeah, I've seen that.
All right, okay, whatever. Next door to Eddie, in the compound next door, is a famous designer. This time, this guy, Miss Perry Ellis. And another
Perry Ellis, yeah.
Another chap named Zoltan Brandisi. And both these little sweethearts are gay as the Mad Hatter. They're just gay. Like, they see me out on this beach in front of the houses. They don't even see the girl. They knock the girl out of it. They see me out there. They call up Eddie. Okay. Now don't forget, no cell phone. So this is just like, this is 80. This is
house to house landline
on a real phone.
Yeah.
So they call Eddie up. You hear the phone ring. Okay. And they have a conversation. Now it's not until I get back in the house. I'm on my way back out. Eddie cannot stop laughing. He just laughs. He says, you have some fans. I said, what are you talking? He said, our neighbors think that you're adorable. That you're, and I just don't even know what he's talking about. He said, and they think that you could be a model. I said, man, I figured out on my own. I said, did you bother to tell them that I'm not gay? And he said, why would I do that? Why would I tell them that? Why would I? He's Eddie, God bless him. He's a director, so he's like he's having in his eyes
possibilities, all possibilities. Yeah,
right. Why should I tell them that you're straight? I mean, and lose all the fun of this.
Right,
dude. Okay, so and actually, they're either going to come over to dinner tomorrow. It had to be at least a month later, if not more. And Eddie keeps on saying, "Hey, man, boyfriends, you need to,
they keep asking for you.
Your boyfriends keep asking for you." So at a certain juncture, I go and meet these guys. I meet them. I go to the agency. I meet.
When you walk in, because I want to break this down. At this stage, have you at all thought about modeling or?
No, I'd always been interested in fashion and not so much fashion, but wearing clothing that was an outer sign of my inner reality. I just like to be clean. And when you lived and were raised like I was raised, I mean, folks didn't have much, so they took care of what they had.
Take me through that day when they ask you to come to their office. This is where?
And we have it
in New York City, I take it?
In New York City, it was in the East 60s, between at that juncture, I believe between Lexington and Park. I believe that's where there's, it's in that area, 64th, 65th, in that area.
Were you nervous?
No.
You had this.
It was, and don't forget, I already have a real job.
Right. You have nothing to lose.
I have a real job. So it's not for me a hit or miss, make it or break it. I'm going in because it's a hoot. It's, it's like, okay, I get it. And Eddie was continually harassing me with his contact these people. Just to Jesus, okay, I'll do this thing. So just stop. Okay, just leave it alone. So I go. We have this wonderful exchange. Not unlike years later, the exchange I'll have with Ralph Lauren. Just years later, I'll have some type of instant connect. But so we. Next thing I know, they've made contact with this German photographer who since passed away. He actually died in that TWA crash years ago in New York.
Oh, wow.
Rico Pullman, Puhlman, comes in, takes my picture. The next thing I know, now this is very crazy. At this time at Scarsdale High School, they had telephones in the classroom, which could actually be connected. I mean, you could call someone in the classroom.
Wow,
So
they can reach you. Mm-hmm.
I get a call in the classroom, and the caller on the other end said, "Hello, this is, we're calling from Condé Nast. I'm John Shaheen's secretary." John Shaheen at that time was the head of Ooh La La, and Art Moore was the art director. He said, "We want to get the correct spelling of your name because you're going to be on the cover of the April issue, the 1983 issue of GQ." I'm thinking it's either Eddie or Eddie has put someone up to this. He just won't let this thing go. Okay? So I hang up. Call again. Telephone again. I said, "Listen, I don't know who this is, but I'm actually in class. I'm in class, and this telephone, it's connected to my classroom. So it's very funny. I get it. I know who GQ is. I know who Condé Nast is. Right? And you can tell Eddie Bianchi from me, okay, that ha ha ha." Next call I get is from the general office. The general office calls me and says, "Listen, Rashid, there's some people on the phone from Condé Nast." This is they represented Vogue, and that was the umbrella under which all these magazines.
Right, of course.
We've given them they wanted the correct spelling of your name to make sure they were correct. And the secretary, Mary Pitt, says, "Honey, you're going to be on the cover of GQ?" And now I'm in class, okay? And I'm trying. I said, I said, "Thank you, but that could be, I don't know that was a real call. I don't know." Well, she says, "I think it was a real call, Rashid. Okay, I spoke to the people, and you evidently hung up on them. And you sounded like completely disinterested, Rashid. This is all. They would like you." This is Mary Pitt. God bless Mary Pitt. She was that time the head secretary of the general office. She said, "They would like you to go to 666 Madison Avenue. Come down, honey, I have all of the information. You need to, come down. They know you're teaching, but you need to come down not today, but 2 days from now. Friday, we get out early. Friday was at 2 o'clock, so you need to come down. You go to 666 Madison Avenue. And these are the people you ask for." Now, Mary Pitt, if Mary Pitt said it was cool, yes, Mary, I will, even for a joke, I'm going to break my monkey ass down there. And so I go down to 666 to Madison Avenue, the Condé Nast headquarters. Read them, you were announced, you go up to the floor with GQ. The elevator opens, and all I can see, the gigantic pictures of myself on this cover. I mean, everywhere. But that was what GQ, whenever someone's going to be on the cover, for that month, they do a wall. I have this, it's in the back room. I have one of the big pictures.
So huge.
I will bring it. Do you want to see it?
Oh, sure. Let's bring it out here.
Do you get, Alejandro? Are you
Oh,
seeing
yeah. Hold on.
You see?
Wow.
I'm trying to
bring it out. Can you bring it a little bit lower? Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so what? It's almost as tall as I am.
Right.
Okay? But these, everywhere you go, they're just, my God, they're in these giant frames. They're all over the place. So then, the same way I'm getting goosebumps right now, I was just like, holy shit, this is for real.
Yeah.
In an instant, I did recognize my life's going to change.
So you knew.
It was before
you knew this was big.
I knew immediately. I knew what GQ was. I knew that all the agencies were trying to get their guys on the cover because it would instantly mean you were a supermodel. You wouldn't have to say it. The moment you were on that cover, it had been redundant to call you. There it is.
GQ, to put it in perspective for those that don't know, was the equivalent of Harvard or Stanford
For sure, being admitted.
Being admitted, making it into one of the top.
To that fellowship of esteemed folks.
Yeah.
But I also knew in an instant, almost in an instant, it would be an avocation, not my vocation. I was all in at Scarsdale High School. I loved my students. I loved my faculty. I was in awe of my fellow faculty members. I mean, I was a young guy. When I came in, there were a lot of older heads who had made the reputation, would help, along with the students, of course, and the families, make that school, give it the brand, the absolute sense of excellence, that school, that bouquet of excellence. So I didn't want, I was not going to leave Scarsdale High School. I'm an academician, but I now have something else on my plate that's going to demand my serious adult attention.
So what happened? How did you do that? How did you balance both?
Well, what happens is, now don't forget, and this is, you ask very good questions. What happened was, my contemporaries in the modeling business were going to be 19, 20, 21, maybe the oldest guy was going to be 25. I was 35. Right. I had already been marinated in life. The decisions I made were not made out of haste. They were made out of hopefully good taste, okay? And the understanding that other people would be impacted by these little decisions I was making. In other words, they may have been small in that I was making them in my smallness, but they would be large in the ripple effect they would have in my family, my close friends, and certainly my students and the Scarsdale community. Because the Scarsdale community was well aware of international fashion. You guys were not. Oh, what is GQ?
Right. No, they knew right away.
You cats were. I mean, you people knew more more significant people in the industry.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
And in fact, my eventual Ralph Lauren connection comes through the Eberly family, Dina Eberly and Darren Eberly's mother, and they had and the stepbrothers, Christopher Sear, Joanne Sear, who was the mother of Dina and Darren Eberly, and Christopher Sear, was Ralph Lauren's main secretary. At a certain juncture, he's being criticized because in this lifestyle that he is disseminating, there are no brown people. These are all the whitest, blondest, and this is a Jewish brother who's recreated this lifestyle. So he's beginning to get a little pushback. He eventually casts this beautiful brown-skinned woman named Aria. She becomes the first brown person to do a major campaign. And it's in the newspapers, it's in Time magazine. You can probably find it if you look. And she was just adorable, and a brown-skinned woman with, close cropped hair, etc. But then he gets criticized. Well, where's the guy? I mean, that's not, you're just paying lip service to the criticism, which was not Ralph at all. He's a good human being to the bone, to the very core. That was not, he's a business person. Mm-hmm. So as he begins to receive this pushback, his secretary says, Joanne says, I got the guy. I know exactly, and you don't have to do a thing to him. He's already that person. I go down and meet Ralph. Now, he is just at this time, I think he has had a brain operation. He's coming back. He's sort of recuperating from that, if I have my timing correct. I go into this beautiful office. It's just, the burled wood, the British satin wood, the whole. And he greets me with the most. And now this is what happens. He's very much shorter than I. Okay, okay. He looks at me, and he just almost shakes his head. And now, for whatever reason, I am as comfortable as I can be. I'm wearing a Giorgio Armani Black Label blue crepe blazer. I must have jeans on, no socks, and some beat up loafers. I look like him. Okay?
Right.
And then he goes over to me, he touches because don't forget, he's a clothier. He touches the material of my jacket. And he looks at me. He says, who where did you get the idea to do all this? And I said, Ralph, this is just, this is my outer sign of my inner reality. This is just who it is. And he says to me, you're going to be my Cary Grant. I'll never forget that because he didn't know. But Cary Grant was sartorially, at least, a hero of mine. I loved the way he dressed himself. But he says that, but he says it as a matter of fact, okay? Now, I don't know what that means in terms of my time. I do know that since his secretary is a parent, he must know I'm a teacher. He's got to know this.
Right.
Dude, I'm teaching you this, Joanne's children. I mean, I can't do two places at once.
How long were you at the office when you met him for the first time?
Easily.
Do you remember?
An hour or so. Normally, when someone's at the office, your secretary gives you a make-believe call.
Right.
Says, but the secretary is the parent. She's the one. I mean, they give you know what. I've
been in those.
Call. Someone's trying. You have a meeting.
Remember your meeting?
Yeah. So, dude, we were in there so damn long. I was getting ready to say I have something to do. But out of complete affectionate respect, I like this guy. I still like him. Okay, he's just a quality human being. So anyway,
so he says that to you. He says you'll be my next Cary Grant, and then what do you?
Oh no, he says you're going to be my Cary Grant, and that's what someone would say when they said they like your style already. I'm going to put you. Don't forget, I'm wearing Armani.
He's gonna be. You're gonna be his star. You're gonna be his star.
So the next thing I know, I'm taking pictures with Bruce Weber, and I become the first brown man to do okay, the way it happens is I get a call and someone says, have you seen the New York Times yet? And I go, no, I haven't seen. He said, you need to see the New York Times fashion section, right? One of my friends, you need to get that paper, dude. I said, well, I get the Times. I just haven't seen it yet. He said, well, go to the men's fashion section and open up and look at them. Now, there's a full-page ad.
Wow.
And that is, and
that's
you can
an
see
amazing picture,
there's a
Ralph.
full-page ad, and all it says in this full-page ad is Polo.
Whoa.
Ralph, do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. That's beautiful.
Okay. So, and that's the way he chose to as an address.
It's a portrait, black and white, of you.
Yeah, absolute, Bruce. Yes, it's a portrait.
It's sitting in a I don't know what kind of pose you.
Yes, sitting in one of those great chairs, just very at ease. And like I told you, I was so comfortable with this. No one ever had to say, look more relaxed, look more. Right. I got it. I understand exactly. I get exactly. But don't forget, I'm an older guy.
Right,
I may not look like I'm ancient. Okay.
Right.
But I'm not 21. I'm not 25.
Right,
I'm not 30. I'm how old are you?
I'm 32. So you were 3 years older than me when this happened.
But the point is, I just want to make the point, is that it was one of the situations where I thought that if nothing else happens in this fashion world for me, I've been on the cover of GQ.
That's what models in their world dream about and work for their entire lives. Yeah.
And I was the last brother on the cover. Actually, it's more famous than being the first, is being the last person on it. Because GQ then changes to a celebrity format. And I think that Mel Gibson, I'm in April. John Somey, I believe, is in May. And in June, they changed. So what happened was you become famous by default, because there'll be no other models who will be able to get on the cover of GQ and become supermodels, because GQ has made up their mind to go to celebrity format. They will now have celebrities on the, okay, so once again, good luck. I just,
Right. And that's where you get, and that just, that's where you
it's just,
get Denzel Washington, and you get all these celebrities.
it's just luck. And the first, and then this, and I thought, and then to have this incredible experience with Bruce Weber and with Ralph, dude, it's fine if they tell me that tomorrow, but then I didn't know it would be a 20-year, that was just the beginning. It was going to last for 20 years.
So at this stage, you made it in the GQ cover. How long, by the way, what was the time frame between GQ and Ralph Lauren?
Great question. I'll come back to that.
Yep.
In all honesty, I must say this as well, because I don't want to be trying to be one of those people. Mm-hmm. After I got on the cover of GQ, to their credit, to their ultimate credit, the black fashion press was on me like white on rice. And the next thing you know, I'm on the cover of Essence magazine, and they're saying the black man of the 80s.
As a final question here, what would you advise for anyone that is beginning their journey and trying to figure out what they want to do, and trying to find a way? What would you suggest? What would be some lessons or anything that comes to mind?
There are two words that come to mind, and I would just, and I'll give you a phrase. But the two words are, what you should be looking for and responding to is not motivation, but inspiration. So in other words, you should not, although many people are, be motivated by money, by the potential of stardom, by a certain type of recognition. Inspiration, you should be motivated by that which turns you on. You married this beautiful woman. When you met her, dude, she turned you on before you probably even knew her name. Okay, so what I am saying is, and recognize that as the kernel of credibility. It's not like, I could make how much money again? I'm going to do that. What I'm talking about is a very personal type of exchange, which may lead you to have to explain to someone why you're doing this rather than that.
Right.
Someone's going, dude, are you fucking serious? Why are you not? He said, no, you understand. I'm going to spend the time it takes, because this makes me feel a certain way. And you know what? If I get to the point where everybody's clapping, cool. But I've already been inside. I've been standing up and giving myself that private standing ovation, because every time I think about doing this or being with that person or going to this place. So, and that's what I tell these people with regard to school. There is no right college. There's only the right college for you. And you only find that out after you make it right, after you go there. Because once you get to wherever you're going, you better be going to the next level because you want to feel a certain way. If you're going there because you want to make that money and you make that, man, you're leaving a lot of important ingredients of humanity on the floor. But if you go in your life, if you can actually create a type of openness, it's not easy, because you're going to have to sort of be vulnerable to criticism or wonder or why. But man, you know what makes you laugh? And what makes you laugh makes you feel a certain way. If you can tie your inspiration to some form of laughter and internal joy, and that's teaching, man, Man, I have never felt higher in my life than I felt with their moments when we just, or when I see you cats like now, after you're graduated and I see you cats, oh my God, I couldn't be more proud. Like, I can't even, if I keep talking, I'm going to start crying, which is why I'm wearing these glasses. But to, at any one point, start crying. Because I'm just so happy to be with you.
That is,
And the phrase basically is, you don't find the right person until you become the right person. And you could just substitute person for job, for career, but you don't find the right person until you become. So that's what a lot of these folks who may be actors or performers, they're doing very well, but they don't know who they are. And it's the time off that's troubling these athletes. When they're on the pitch, they're doing so well. It's the time when they're not kicking that ball around, or the time when they're not catching the ball, they get in trouble because the ones that do.
Yep.
So the money,
it's it
becomes a monster. The money just means that you have more opportunity to choose options which are unsavory and selfish.
Going back to being in your class, not until now, when I'm doing more self-reflection, do I realize how even more meaningful and impactful time in your class was, because it allowed me to connect to a freedom, to another level of energy. It was so refreshing.
But that's what you literally were joyful, and I could feel you thinking. Do you hear me? And also, your energy was very infectious. We had a happy class.
I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to be a part of your class and to really witness and be a part of your art form of communication with young minds and the inspiration you bring to them. And so I really want to share that with you, because that was very meaningful to me.